Today we're taking a detailed look at the all-new 2024 Ford Ranger. Here's a fun fact for you. The new Ford Ranger is going to be available in 180 different countries. And the crazy thing is, it is actually produced in 4 different plants across 4 different continents. This is the definition of a global vehicle. And the reason that's so important is because it helps Ford hit a couple of targets that they're shooting for. Case in point, the actual cost of the vehicle. Because this vehicle is a global vehicle now, it actually can help us with economy of scale to make the vehicle less expensive and also better at the same time. In addition to being a global vehicle, Ford Motor Company is drastically trying to reduce the complexity on how you can order this vehicle. Case in point, this is a Lariat trim level, and automatically you get the Sport Appearance package. Same way with the XLT and same way with the XL model. There's a couple reasons for that. Ford realizes that their buyers are now a younger generation that doesn't want chromed out everything. But if you are one of those people that wants chromed out everything, you can always opt for the chrome package on top of most of these packages. So just kind of keep that in mind. But it's just interesting to see they've shifted that, but they've also reduced the ordering complexity in other ways, like the cab configuration that you see right here. This is the Super Crew. Now you cannot even get a new Ranger with the Super Cab, which is the 2 full doors and the 2 half doors. But anyways, this is the only configuration for the cab itself on the new Ranger. Once again, trying to reduce the cost of the vehicle by reducing the complexity, because the fewer variations, the less it's going to cost you. The beautiful thing about this video is we've got the 24 parked right next to the previous generation Ford Ranger. There's a lot of differences that are automatically apparent on the outside of the vehicle. Now, if I haven't already mentioned to you, this new Ranger is completely new compared to the previous generation. Everything's different. The frame's different. The sheet metal's different. It may look very similar, but it is completely different with one exception. That is going to be coming later in the video, so don't go anywhere, and I'll tell you what that big exception is. But one thing I want to show you is see how more slanted this hood is on the front end of this truck compared to this one. This one has a higher hood elevation, and one of the reasons is because they wanted to look as aggressive as possible, because in other countries, this is the Ford F-150. This is their primary truck in other countries. So they needed to make sure that it was beefy, bulky, and I guess a little less feminine as this has. What I'm trying to say is this thing has a lower hood because Ford wanted you to be able to see when you're getting into parking space, and it just, this just has a much more aggressive front end. And I guess because of cameras and all the different parking sensors, you don't necessarily need to have this low hood line, and that's why you've got this beautiful hood and the beautiful front end. A couple of other things I want to show you is the grille on this one, in my opinion, is much mo better, as we say in Alabama. I love the way this grille looks, and I tell you, you don't really realize how much nicer it is compared to the previous generation until you got them side by side. I really didn't have any issues with this previous generation until you park it to the next generation. You're like, oh yeah, Ford's definitely stepping it up into the next century, if you will. Looking at the headlight, there's a lot going on here. First things first, look at this big C design. And what that really, in my opinion, is kind of like a C, you kind of think C-clamp. Really, at the end of the day, I wonder if this is like a psychological trick where Ford's trying to make you think this is more of a work truck than it actually is. I think it actually is a decent work truck. But anyways, just a little psychological thing for you there. But this is, because it's a Lariat, has the projector headlights. Ford is actually saying it's embossed in here, inside the headlight, performance LED. It basically means that you've got the projector LED headlight in this vehicle. Even the XL models now have LED headlights. Now, those versions are going to be a reflector LED, but it is nice to see that you've got a really, really high-end headlight on the front end of this new Ranger. Now, a couple of other notable features. You can see that you've got the grille almost really looks like it comes down into the lower part of the bumper, even though that is just a color coordination. On the front end of this truck, you'll notice that you've got a front camera. That means this new Ranger has a 360 camera system all the way around. And a fun fact for you is that is a nozzle to spray and clean off the camera. As you can see, this truck has got some miles on it. It's got some bug guts on it. It's no worries with the camera. When you go and use the windshield wiper fluid, it also cleans that front lens, which I think is really cool. Taking a look over here on the side of the vehicle itself, you'll notice that the fenders actually look a lot more bulged out. It almost looks like a flared setup. This looks more like a Raptor than that does significantly. I love the way that it looks like it's got a flared fender, a wide body kit, if you will. What, dude, over here. Oh, I know what you're looking at. Okay, So this is the F-250. I know this is a video about the Ranger, but this is the F-250 that we're giving away. And because you follow us on our YouTube channel, if you click on that link down below, not only will you get 7 times entries to win this truck, but we'll also give you a discount code because you're on our YouTube channel. It's not available anywhere else. So click on that link down below if you want to get entered to win, because the winner of this truck not only gets the truck, but they also get $10,000 in cold hard cash. And this giveaway is completely licensed, bonded. It's completely fair. We've hired a sweepstakes company. It is going to be given away to somebody, and I hope it is you. So click on that link down below. But now that you've done got ADD on me, let's focus on the truck itself. So you've got that front fender is kind of more flared out, but it's the same way with the bedside as well. If you look at it from the backside, you can see that it actually sticks out further than the doors itself. And I love that look. On the backside of the new Ranger, you've got a really cool step feature that's built into the bedside, very similar to what you'll find in the Super Duty, except for this is actually behind the rear wheel well instead of in front. And the reason is because there's just not enough space to put it in front. But now the cool part about this is I'm 6'3", I'm a big dude, and I got a big foot. I got a 14 size shoe, and I can actually fit nearly all of the foot that I need to get in and out of the bed of this vehicle. Now I might not be using this to actually step in the truck, but just to get something in and out of it, I've got a crazy level of reach back there. So I really, really like that. Taking a look at these taillights in the rear, you'll notice a lot is going on. Because this is the Lariat Sport Appearance Package, everything's kind of smoked out, but you've also got your blind spot information system radar built into the taillight. The reason is because it's a radar that's shooting out, and the radar is not going to go through metal. So that's why they have to actually put that inside of the tail lamp. Looking at the back side of the truck, you're going to notice a couple of other things. Things are moved around and shifted compared to the previous generation. First thing you'll notice is that the Ford logo is significantly bigger. My guess is probably 35% bigger than what is on the previous generation. But the other thing you'll notice is that the Ford logo is moved up higher. Why in the world did they do that? So that way it's eye level when you're sitting behind the new Ranger at a stoplight. I guess Ford's just trying to get their brand in front of every person on the road. I think it's kind of a subtle little touch and a little quirk, if you will, that I love about the new Ford Ranger. Now you've also got a little light that's located right in here with the camera located underneath the Ford logo. Now I want to talk about this light for a second. This is a part of the perimeter lighting system where it can light up the entire surround of the vehicle itself. And you've also got box lighting as well back here as well. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but take a look at that. You got that nice, soft, open tailgate, and one finger, you can lift the tailgate up. It is a really nice and lightweight tailgate, and I love that feature about it. So this vehicle is upfitted with the LED box lighting on the inside. You've got this Chimsel third brake light up top that is able to shine light into the bed of the vehicle, but if that's not enough, you've also got more lights that are located here inside of the bed. Here is one unfortunate thing about this particular LED box lighting system. On the F-150, there's a dedicated button that you can turn it on and off from the bed itself. On the new Ranger, you have to actually go inside of the cab to get that to turn on. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but I guess Ford's got to save that 50 cents on the switch itself. But either way, it's a good little size bed. And I do want to point out another really cool thing about this particular setup, and that is going to be the fact that you can fit a full-size sheet of plywood back here. So you can actually sit that piece of plywood flat on the floor right here in the middle. It fits in between the wheel wells, which is a much bigger upgrade compared to the Ford Maverick. The beautiful thing is you can still put plywood in the back of the Ford Maverick. The only difference is it has to actually sit on top of these wheel wells versus actually on the floor. So it's kind of nice that you have that little extra ability there. A big reason you're able to lay that plywood flat is because this is a much bigger version of the Ford Ranger. In fact, it's a 1.9 inches longer on the overall wheelbase. And as far as the width is concerned, it's 2.5 inches wider than the previous version of the Ford Rangers. Now, as I'm over here talking, I want to show you a couple of things. These little cutouts right here are designed to put some kind of a rack back here, or if you wanted to have an overlanding tent, whatever it is that you wanted to do, it is designed to be modular for those younger people that are going to be doing things lifestyle-wise out of their truck. And that actually brings me back to another point that we talked about just a second ago, and that's that side step. Because think about it, if you've got a rooftop tent up here, or you've got a canoe up here on top of this rack, and you got to tie it down or undo it, the step is long enough and wide enough that you can actually fit 2 feet on the step at the same time, so that way you can do what you need to with that rooftop tent or the canoe right there. I think that's a really cool setup, and Ford really thought about this as they were designing the back end of this truck. As I come in and close the tailgate, there's actually a few things I want to point out to you. Very first thing is we talked about C-clamps earlier in that front end, and Ford wanted you to think that, hey, a C-clamp styling makes you feel like it's a work truck. We'll take a look at this. They've got dedicated provisions so that way you can use a C-clamp to basically bolt, or not bolt, but C-clamp the actual wood down to the tailgate. So that way you can saw things off, or you can do what you need to with it, and you still have your measuring stick over here on the top of the tailgate. So I think that's a pretty cool little setup. Now that we're taking a look back here, I want to dive into something. Whoa. I didn't lose my balance. What are you talking about? So take a look at this. You got your pig's tail, and you have also got your 4-pin wiring harness as well. This is a part of the upgraded towing package that Ford has now got on the new Ford Ranger. In fact, this thing can actually tow a significant amount of weight, 7,500 pounds if my memory serves me right. But more importantly than that, because keep in mind there's a couple of other competitors that might tow a little bit more weight, but you're not factoring in the whole setup. You also have to consider payload. This thing has the most payload out of any vehicle in its segment at like 1,800 pounds or so. Because keep in mind that if you've got a 7,000 pound trailer on the back of the vehicle, you're supposed to have 10% of that on the tongue weight. Well, that tongue weight comes out of your payload. And so if you have 7,000 pounds, that's 700 pounds worth of weight, a payload just from the trailer, which means that you have still 1,100, I'm actually doing some math live on this video, but you still have 1,100 pounds worth of payload available for the people, the gasoline, the cooler in the back, all of that kind of stuff. So keep in mind, it's not just about max trailer tow capacities, it's also about the payload. Even if you don't opt for the upgraded towing package, you still have the ability to do towing directly from the bumper. And that bumper can actually tow up to 3,500 pounds. You know, 90% of Americans don't even tow that much weight. So you just gotta keep in mind that just in case it doesn't have the tow package, doesn't mean it can't take care of your needs. On the back of the vehicle, I wanna show you something. There is 2 outlets back here. One is going to be a typical old school style plug in the back of the bed, and you also have a 400-watt outlet. Keep in mind that the Pro Power on board is not available on the new 24 Ranger. My hope is that if Ford ever comes out with like a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, something like that, in fact, I think I saw somewhere that Australia came out with a hybrid version of this Ranger. It would be awesome if Ford could bring something similar to get some crazy levels of Pro Power on board on the new Ranger. On the inside of the Ranger, everything is also brand new. So take a look at this upgraded center console, the dashboard, the steering wheel. All of this is upgraded, and it is all global. That's going to be the reason you're going to see some things like this LIM button on the steering wheel. That's a speed limiter, because in other countries, if it's a fleet vehicle, and I've already kind of mentioned to you, this is the F-150 of other countries, you legally have to have a speed limiter on a commercial vehicle. Ford realized that it was cheaper just to have a global steering wheel across the board, and that is the reason you have a crazy button like limiter. A couple of other notable features. This one has the FX4 off-road package, and because of that, you're going to get this electronic shifting center console shifter. Now keep in mind, the transmission itself is also upgraded from the previous generation, even though it sounds the same being a 10-speed. But this is really nice because this vehicle, being an FX4, picks up the active park assist 2.0, which means the vehicle needs to be able to shift gears to get you in and out of that parking spot without you having to control it. That's the reason FX4 models have this version versus the other non-FX4 versions have a more mechanical old school style shifter. Once again, Ford trying to save money where they can. Now you've got the rotary dial located right here. This is for your drive modes. So that way you've got all the different drive modes that you can see on the screen, as well as you've got your locking rear end, your traction control on and off, and that parking button that we just got through talking about. Now, one of the things I want to show you is this massive upgraded instrument cluster and the center console screen. So this is the Sync 4 system, and you've got 2 different versions based on whether you get the XL, the XLT, the Lariat, or the Raptor. This one's got the bigger screen in it, and it looks fantastic. You got a lot of different controls, but you also get the massive upgraded instrument instrument cluster as well. It's completely digital and it looks fantastic. Ford definitely did a big update on this particular version. Now, here's a fun fact for you, is that if you get the Lariat version, which is what this one has, it's not available on the lower trim levels, but you actually get an upper glove box as well as the normal lower glove box. So it's very interesting to see that you actually pick this up on this trim level, but not on the XL and not on the XLT. The back seat of the new Ranger also got a pretty big update, and the main thing is a load flat floor for the seat back. So basically, get you some. Sorry. Anyways, I love the fact that you have the ability to have a little bit more storage on the back seat of this vehicle, because you just lay it down and you can put whatever you need to back here. It's maybe not as roomy as what you'll find in the F-150 where the bottom seat comes up, but nonetheless, it is nice improvement compared to the previous generation of the Ranger. As promised, there's one thing that is carry over from the previous generation of the Ranger, and you are looking at it. The 2.3 liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost is a carryover engine, but it still makes a lot of horsepower and a lot of torque. But Ford has listened to exactly what you have said, and they've now given us the ability to have a 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6 available in this new Ford Ranger, and that is awesome. Keep in mind that's a late availability option, but if that's not enough horsepower and torque for you, you still have the ability to go with the 3-liter EcoBoost out of the Ford Ranger Raptor. That brings a whole nother level of crazy horsepower and torque, but we're not covering the Raptor in this video because there's simply not enough time. As far as an all-new Ford Ranger, Ford hit this thing out of the park. If you're interested in ordering one for yourself, give us a call, Town & Country Ford in Pell City, Alabama. The phone number is right there on the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe with the bell notification turned on so you don't miss a single video. Peace.